sisters, heirs, joint heirs, adopted, grafted, natural, spiritual, however you may come. Y'all thought I forgot that line. That's the line, the opening line I always do when I'm doing car cams. And I thought I'd come this morning because I have a little drive to do and do a quick car cam. So shout out to everybody coming inside of the room there. I can't really see who's coming in. But shout out to all of you all that's coming in. And because I'm driving, I can't see everybody that's coming in. But I see Coach. Let's see. What's going on, brother David East? How you doing, my brother? We're soon to open up Bethel. Soon to open up. Sister Devorah Cotton, how you doing? Peace and blessings to you also. Shout out. Shout out. I titled this today while I'm driving, and I don't have to take off my hat because I'm not going to drop no script. So we're just having a discussion, all right? Usually if I go into deep teaching, I take off my hat. Sister Sheila Clayton, how you doing? Landon Johnson, how you doing, my brother? Up in Jacksonville. It's 85 degrees in South Florida. Partly cloudy. I don't know what the weather is like that up there for you. Delusions and strong indoctrination. I wanted to talk about it because it was on my mind. I said, what would be a good conversation to share with people today in just a strict one-on-one conversation between us and you. And that's delusions and indoctrination. It's real. It's very real. And we have to teach it as if it is real. Because it is real. A delusion is something that people see, and the scriptures talks about strong delusions and indoctrination. I like to link them together because delusions cause indoctrination, and indoctrination causes delusions. They work hand in hand, one together. And here's why. If you are growing up in a household, you're growing up, and you have people of authority that's over you, such as parents, grandparents, guardians, and it continues on when you get into school. You have school teachers. You have a system. And if that's what you've been exposed to, true or false, truth or lies, that is what your mind is developed to adapt to. It's just that simple. And the reason why we say delusions and indoctrination is because indoctrination is something that you've been ingrained with. Good morning there. Indoctrination is something that you have been ingrained with. And from a child, racism is not something that you're born with. Racism is something that you are indoctrinated with. People don't grow up to be a racist. They're grown, they are reared up, and they are taught racism along the way. It's just that simple. And the same thing, it happens with delusions and bad doctrine. If you're grown up to believe that Jesus was born on December the 25th, that's his birthday. That's his birthday. And if the parent said it, the guardian said it, the school said it, the preacher said it, it's something that has been indoctrinated into the mind. And it becomes a delusion. And here's what causes a delusion, is when you are so indoctrinated that if someone was to show you otherwise, evident, proof, presumption, evident, great, because you've been indoctrinated so bad and so deep, a delusion appears and you don't want to see nothing else. You can't see nothing else. That's what a delusion will do. It prohibits you from seeing anything else, even if it's on the table. Even if the evidence is on the table, you won't see it. That's how powerful a delusion is. It's how powerful. So indoctrination and delusions work hand in hand. Because if that's what you've been taught all your life, if racism is what you've been taught all your life since growing up, if somebody tried to show you that all man is equal, you're not going to see it. Because the indoctrination is so deep, a delusion, a wall, a thick wall in your mind is hard to penetrate. Hard to penetrate a delusion. And you have to, number one, you don't have to like it, you got to respect it. And I'm going to share why in a minute. You don't have to like indoctrinations that are false, that are inaccurate, that are immoral. Racism is a doctrine that has been indoctrinated into the minds of children. And it came from their parents. And those parents got it from their parents. And those parents got it from their parents. So it becomes a family, what we call tradition, a family tradition of being indoctrinated with bad teaching. Peacemaker says generational curse. And this is what makes it a generational curse. It's when it's bad and you think it's right, and it becomes a generational, one family, one generation after the next. It's nothing that and the reason why I say respect it is because if you understand the root of it, that's the respect. You don't have to like it. You don't have to like the teaching. Just respect how it got on the table. It came from generations, as Brother Peacemaker indicated. Generations after generations after generations after generations. Question is, how do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? And I believe that you deal with it, number one, by respecting it. You don't have to like it, respect it. Now, how do you respect it? Realize the root of it. When you look at an individual, you're going to say to that individual, and when you get their information and who you're dealing with and who you're talking to, and when you know the history, then you'll say to yourself, that comes from 400 years of indoctrination. America, brothers and sisters, America only became a country in 1776. When I was in high school in 1976, We were celebrating the bicentennial. That was in 1976. We're not even 300 years old. I'm talking about as a country. We're not even 300 years old. We got our independence and became a country in 1776. 1876, 100 years. 1976, 200 years. If I add 50 years to that, I believe that's 2026. Yeah, 2026. In about 5 years from now, we'll be 250 years old as a country. As a country, we will be 250 years old. So you're dealing with 250 years of indoctrination to the minds of families. 250 years. Slavery's been here since day one. Before day one. Before America was even a country. Spain, France, and Britain brought us here as slaves. Before this, they're trying to divide territory. How long racism has been here? It was here, and it came from Portugal. The Spanish brought it from Portugal, Spain, during the Inquisition. Britain brought it. The French brought it. And you're dealing with indoctrination. Same thing with religion. You're dealing with indoctrination. That's why some people say, I was born a Baptist, I was raised a Baptist, and I'm going to die a Baptist. In their mind, they're not leaving that doctrine. They're not leaving that creed. It's the only thing that they have. It's the only thing they got. It wasn't until 1863 we had the Emancipation Proclamation, where slavery was somewhat abolished. All slaves were free. 1860, 100 years. We're not even in 2063. So we haven't even been free just a little bit over 100 plus years. So indoctrination, when I say respect it, when you understand how long of a root, when you look at a tree, and a tree, as it starts to start off in a little small, maybe 6-inch plant, as it grows, the roots spread out. And if you look at what they call the canopy of the tree is if you was to take a topology or overhead shot of that tree and look at all the limbs and the circumference of that, the roots are said to be as long or wide of a circumference as the canopy. If you were looking at it from a topology pictorial site, meaning from the ground or from the air looking down, and the tree might have just the trunk coming up, but no, when you look at the spread of it, that's big. And roots are just like that. They are spread out so far beyond that. I say that to say this. When you're dealing with indoctrination, whether it's theology, whether it's something that people have been indoctrinated with, you're looking at roots. You gotta pull up a lot of roots, brothers and sisters, a lot of roots. Santa Claus coming down the chimney has a lot of, that's a big tree. That's a big tree. That's why the Lord usually, the story in Genesis, don't eat of that tree. Neither the tree of life. I'm going to stay where I'm at because I'm not going to take my hat off. If I start getting to the script, I got to take my hat off. But let me just say this. Let me just say this. That Christmas tree is a long historical tree. Not only does it have a large canopy, but the roots, it goes way back, brothers and sisters. It's a lot of indoctrination we got to deal with right there. That's a lot. That's a lot we got to deal with. And when we deal with that, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, when you deal with that right there, it is serious. Very, very serious. And I'm telling you, you got to respect. All right, I just needed to see where I needed to get off at. So what I'm saying is, we have to respect that tree. It's a long tree. Christmas, bunny rabbits laying eggs. It's a long tree, brothers and sisters. It's a big tree. It's a very, very big tree. That indoctrination goes way back. So when we say respect it, what do you have to do? You're going to have to, when you unindoctrinate someone, and let's just use Christmas for instance. You're going to have to go all the way back to where Christmas begun, where its name was Saturnalia, when it was something that was a Babylonian ritual. You're going to go all the way back there. That's what I'm talking about, respecting it. See, when you can respect the fact that it is a long-standing historical tree that is deeply rooted, you'll go back to the beginning of its root. And when you go back to the beginning of its root, then you're more successful in dealing with the indoctrination. And that's the only way to deal with it, is go all the way back to the root of the problem. It's just like weeds that's in your yard. You can pull it, but if you don't grab it down by the deep of the stem and grab all the roots that are attached to it, it's just going to come back and grow. It's going to go away for a little bit on the surface, but that's a tradition that is deeply rooted, that if you respect it, you will grab it deep where it's coming up out of the soil, and you'll wet it a little bit and till up the dry ground around it. See, this is, yeah, it was a little bit interrupted there. Bad area. We're back. You got to put a little love behind it. You got to put a little water on it. And that's what you have to do when things are deeply, deeply, deeply rooted like that. That's why the scripture says, with love and kindness have I drawn thee. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to show a little wisdom behind it. You're going to have to respect it. You're going to have to nourish it just enough to grab all the roots. That's all you're really trying to do. So sometimes you can't even go in and argue with people. You really can't. You really can't go argue with anybody, because all you're going to do is cause the ground to stay hardened, and you're not going to be able to get it out. And you're going to understand where they're coming from, how long of a historical indoctrination that you're dealing with. You really are. And you're going to do it. Just one second. Sorry about that, brothers and sisters. I'm picking up somebody, and they called me. I didn't want them to think I wasn't coming. So anyway, Yeah. Thank you, Sister Tish. The phone rung and I had to take that. Um, yeah. So you're gonna have to look at that Christmas thing. You're gonna have to look at that Easter thing. You're gonna have to look at the Sunday issue and realize people have come and they've been indoctrinated a long time with that false doctrine. That's just it. Sunday has been around since America has been around. In a few years, in 5 years, Sunday would have been around in America as a country over 250 years. 250 years, as Brother Peacemaker said it, generation, 250 years of generation indoctrination that has been false. Respect it. Don't like it, just respect it. So you know what you're dealing with. The scripture says, let me take off my hat for this. What man goes out to war and not consider the weapons that you have and that the enemy has? Who builds a house and not consider the cost? When you're dealing and teaching, it's the same principle. When you're sitting down with a group of students, sometimes I'll go around the classroom and ask, tell me a little bit about you. When you're in the class, watch the teacher. A teacher's going to ask you, well, everybody introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So you go around the room. I don't care if you're in a seminar. I don't care if you're at a conference on your job. I don't care where you are. Somebody is going to do an introduction in the room. And the reason why they do that is because it allows the instructor or the presenter to know the audience. What is the education level of the audience? What's the experience of the audience? What's their knowledge in the conference? What do they bring to the table? And that's why they ask those questions. So when you know who you're dealing with and your students and what you're dealing with, then you can say, okay, I'm dealing with folk whose grandparents were Baptists, great-grandparents was a Baptist, grandparents was a Baptist, parents was a Baptist, and I'm dealing with somebody, I'm dealing with at least 4 generations of Sunday indoctrination with Christmas and Easter, and we dying and going to heaven. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how you have to deal with that. All right, I'm putting my hat back on. Peace and blessings to all of you all. Just wanted to drop that this morning. Keep your head up. See you tonight at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Peace and blessings.